Golden Radio Hour.
And now stay tuned for X-1 on NBC. Countdown for blast-off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight, The Defenders, based on a story by Philip Dick.
And now we bring you a special film of the destruction of San Francisco by radioactive pellets, released this week by robots of the Asian Confederation. This bombing was televised by robot cameramen of the Western Confederation as it took place. What you are about to see is a rebroadcast. Here you see the heroic robots, the Leddies, who defended San Francisco against the dastardly attack. Of course, since all human life has been under the surface of Earth for 16 years, there was no actual loss of life in the sense we know it. Still, the vicious destruction of Western Leddies by this sneak attack by Asian robots.
The surface war. The surface war, that's all we hear. It's all everybody works for. 90 cents out of every dollar goes for the surface war. Every man, woman, and child is either inventing new weapons or manufacturing robots to fight for us or taking care of the people who are doing the inventing or manufacturing.
Mary, take it easy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dad.
Maybe you've been working too hard at the university.
Maybe.
How's the study coming?
All right.
Colonel Moss was asking about it only today over at Supreme Headquarters.
I'm still working.
Mary, you haven't mentioned the enemy much.
Oh, what's there to say?
Well, is he as hateful as ever?
He hasn't been feeling well.
Pity. I hope he doesn't die. After all, he's the only living captive member of the Asian Confederation. How old is he, by the way?
34.
Oh, you're joking, of course.
No.
Mary, Western society only moved under the surface of the Earth some 16 years ago. Now, that would mean that the enemy was captured when he was only a boy.
Yes.
He told you this?
Oh, no, he tells everyone he's 42. I deduced it from inconsistencies in his statements.
Well, that's a little dangerous, isn't it?
Well, you're the only one I've told, Dad.
I wish you wouldn't even tell me these things.
Do you expect your friend Colonel Moss to pop out from under the bed?
Now you're being facetious. It's no laughing matter, Mary. The whole concept of the enemy is so charged emotionally.
And so full of lies.
Mary!
It's true. I've been talking to him for 6 months now. He's just an ordinary young man who happens to have had the bad luck to come to symbolize every hated thing we fight against.
I've heard him speak. He is hateful.
He knows what to say if he wants to keep alive.
Mary, I won't hear any more of this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dad. I suppose it doesn't serve any useful purpose.
It isn't that. I'm thinking of your own safety. If remarks like this were overheard, do you know what they do to traitors?
I've heard they turn them over to the Leddies.
They're taken up to the surface. As they approach it, the radioactivity begins to destroy them. And by the time they reach the top...
I'll be careful.
Good. Now then, why don't we stop this morbid talk? How about turning on some music,
All right. Dad,
Yes?
what was it like
What?
on the surface?
Don't you remember?
Mm-mm.
Oh, no, of course not. You were only about 6 at the time. Well, It's best not to talk about it too much.
Tell me, Dad, please.
Well, it was quite different from living underground. We lived in a valley, your mother and you and I. There were pretty farms along the floor of the valley, little white houses and green fields and trees.
Oh, and there were birds.
Yes. I'm afraid the birds are extinct now.
It must have been hard for you those first years underground.
It wasn't pleasant. But I had my work at the War Institute. There was so much to be done then, building the leadys to take over the surface war, designing the pneumatic tubes to get supplies and weapons up to the robots, organizing the robot councils on the surface, and, of course, the constant fight against radiation leakage. We're still working on that one.
I wonder what my life would have been like if it hadn't happened. About all I know is metal walls and great roaring factories and barracks.
Nobody wants to live this way, my dear. We have to. Someday, when the enemy's defeated...
What makes you think he'll be defeated? The Asians are just as secure underground as we are.
When our leadys conquer theirs...
Dad.
What is it?
Dad, the enemy, the one I've been interviewing.
I thought we weren't discussing him.
He mentioned a word to me.
A word?
Yes. It seems to me that I heard it before when I was a little girl.
It's best to forget these things.
No, I don't know what it means, but it might even be a bad word, but I have to ask you.
I'd rather not.
Please?
Well?
The word was peace. Oh, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shock you. I think I'll go up to my room. I have to get up early. I'm taping an interview with the enemy. Excuse me.
Get me the Director of Internal Security.
Yes?
Moss, this is Donald Taylor.
Yes, Donald.
It's about my daughter.
Mary?
Yes. She's been working with the enemy, as you know, compiling a new study.
Yes?
I'm afraid from some of the things he's told her that he may not be completely sane.
Oh?
I thought perhaps you might, supervise their relationship a little more. After all, she's been spending almost 6 months in his company, several hours a day.
I see what you mean.
Now, I don't mean to suggest that anything has happened already. Her attitude's...
Don't concern yourself about it. Everything will be handled discreetly.
The enemy is waiting inside, Miss Taylor.
Good. Is the recording and filming equipment ready to go?
All checked and ready.
You've checked the restraint suit on the prisoner?
Yes, miss.
You may leave us alone.
Just buzz when you want me, Miss Taylor.
I will. Thank you, guard. Hello, hateful one.
Hello, beloved.
How are you?
Feeling no pain?
I thought about you last night. I talked to Father.
Be careful.
Oh, it's all right.
Oh, this can't go on, Mary. Sooner or later, someone will suspect.
I don't care. I love you.
Mary. Well, you'd better get something on tape. If anyone comes in.
All right. Tape number 425X. Subject, recorded interview with captive ZN2, former soldier of the Asian Confederation and enemy of the Western Confederation.
I'm Joseph Kali, serial number ZN2, former soldier of the Asian Confederation.
What were you taught to believe concerning the people of the Western Confederation?
I hate them with all my heart. They are inhuman and to be destroyed.
What is your objective?
It is the objective of my people to enslave all members of the Western Confederation and to utilize them for the benefit of the masters of the Asian Confederation.
Did you ever witness any murder of members of the Western Confederation?
I was a pilot in a group which dropped radioactive dust on women and children who were preparing to be evacuated underground. I myself killed some 15,000.
We will discontinue the interview to check the quality of the recordings. And to kiss the lips of the captive from the Asian Confederation. Oh, Joseph, I can't tell you how it pains me to hear you mouthing this stuff.
It keeps me alive.
If there were only some way to escape, some place to go.
The surface is the only place to go. And the radioactivity kills you in 40 minutes with the thickest lead suit.
Sometimes I think even 40 minutes of freedom would be worth it.
40 minutes of pain?
If that's the price, then
For myself, I wouldn't care. But for you, Mary.
If there were a way to reach the surface...
There is.
Colonel Moss.
This has been, I must say, a most interesting interview to hear.
You heard it.
From the beginning. We had the room wired this morning.
Then you know.
Yes.
What's going to happen to us?
To you, nothing. Because of my friendship for your father and your own youth. We will simply require that you remain silent about anything that has happened.
And Joseph?
The enemy will be handed over to a D-class leady at the mouth of the tube and taken to the surface. We will perform the entire operation with a ceremony and a public announcement.
He'll die.
Precisely.
No. Please.
Now you'd better go. Your father is waiting outside.
Joseph.
Mary, do as he says.
Joseph, I love you.
Take her out.
Please let me say goodbye to him.
Remove her.
Joseph, please. Please let me stay, please. Father?
Yes?
Did you talk to Colonel Moss?
Yes.
And?
He'll permit you to come along and watch the ceremony, provided...
Provided?
There's no display of any sort. And, of course, a public denouncement of the whole matter. He's prepared a statement to the effect that the enemy tried to dupe you, that he used hypnosis, etc., etc. Well?
I'll sign it.
The ceremony is at the foot of the tube tomorrow morning at 6. At that hour, the enemy will be handed over to a D-class leady, which is being brought down from the surface. Remember your promise.
Detail! Halt! The prisoner is ready to be turned over, sir.
Is the robot here?
The robot is arriving now.
I'll give the orders. I wish to converse with it.
Yes, sir. The robot has landed at the foot of the tube, sir.
Switch on the intercom. Robot.
Robot N71.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We have a prisoner to turn over. He is to be taken to the surface and destroyed.
Yes, sir.
Before we send him into the radiation lock, there are a few questions the military would like to have answered.
Yes, sir.
How is the war going on the surface?
The war continues. We are a little short of fast pursuit craft, the single-seat type.
It will be noted.
Our missiles pounded the Euro munitions plant of the Asian robot team last night, with good results.
Excellent. Are you ready to receive the prisoner?
I am ready.
I must warn all observers to remain behind the lead wall when the radiation lock opens. A few seconds' exposure to a hot leady is enough to cause serious damage. Prisoner, step forward.
Father.
Steady, Mary. Remember your promise?
Yes. Is he?
He's there.
Oh, if I could only see him alone a minute.
It's out of the question. Keep well behind the lead wall.
Ready?
Ready, Colonel.
Open the lock. Step into the lock, prisoner.
He's in with the leady. You can almost feel the radiation. By now, he's as good as dead.
Lower the door.
No! Wait! Joseph! Joseph!
Mary, come back!
Hold the door!
Mary!
Robert! Remove the woman and take the prisoner to the surface. Hurry!
She'll be burned to death.
Don't go out there. The lady is pushing around. Close the lock!
Mary!
Sergeant! Get a technician in a radiation suit to pick her up. Have her shielded and brought to the decontaminating chamber.
Yes, sir.
My daughter.
You'd better get into a lead suit, Donald. We'll see what we can do to save her.
How is she? Bad?
I don't understand it.
What's wrong?
She's cold, not a trace of radiation.
You mean the leady wasn't radioactive?
It's impossible. Those robots are exposed to enough radiation in an hour to kill a regiment.
Well, could the counter be defective?
I've checked it. No, it must be some freak. Somehow she avoided exposure to the rays. Well, you're a very lucky man, Professor.
Can I see her?
Yes. Go in.
Thank you. Mary,
Hello, Dad.
did they tell you you're going to be all right?
Yes.
Well, you don't seem overjoyed.
Should I be?
You really care for this murder of women and children?
Dad, for the last time, Joseph never murdered any women and children. He confessed to those crimes to keep alive.
Well, we won't discuss it. You're safe. That's all that matters.
Was he taken up?
Yes. By now, he's gone.
I don't believe it.
Mary.
I don't believe it. Somehow, deep inside me, I know he's alive. Somehow, I knew that leady wasn't radioactive.
That leady. Yes, that's puzzling. We'll have to investigate that. I'm going to send an order to the surface asking that the same leady be sent down again. There's something very strange about the whole business.
The tube is arriving with the leady as you requested, Professor.
Good. I'm going in to examine it.
Isn't that dangerous, even with the suit on, sir?
It won't take me long.
Very well. He's reached bottom.
Open the lock.
Father.
Hold it. Mary, what are you doing here in a radiation suit?
This is the same leady, isn't it?
Yes. I was just going in to examine it.
I want to go with you.
Why?
This is the leady that took Joseph up. I want to speak to it and find out.
Now, Mary, why torture yourself?
It's more torture this way. I have to know. If he's alive or dead, I have to know.
He's dead.
The leady will know. Please, Father, please.
Very well. Close your helmet. Open the lock, guard.
Ready, Mary?
Ready.
Let's go in. You're Robert N-71?
I am.
The same who escorted the prisoner to the surface this morning?
Yes.
Is he...
He is dead. The radiation killed him before he reached the surface.
Oh, no.
Steady, Mary. Robert.
Sir?
You accompanied him to the surface?
Yes.
You've been exposed?
I've fought in 3 battles.
Then explain something.
Sir?
According to a counter I have concealed in my suit, you're cold. Not a trace of radioactivation. How do you explain this? Well? Answer me. That's an order.
I must return to the surface.
Not till you answer me.
I must return to continue fighting the war. Do not attempt to stop me.
I again...
Daddy has a ray gun.
Look out! Keep back. I've shorted him with the metal counter. He'll be burned out in a second. That was close.
I thought these robots were unable to harm their masters.
He might have been bluffing, but I couldn't take a chance.
Why do you suppose he did it?
I don't know. But I'm beginning to suspect something so fantastic that I've got to find out about it.
Find out?
Leave the tube, Mary.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to the surface.
What?
My suit will protect me for about 5 minutes up there.
No humans have been up to the surface for years. It's illegal.
I know all about that. Now, will you leave the tube?
No. I'm going with you.
Mary, please.
If you go, I go with you.
All right. Hang on. I'm going to start the elevator. Here we go. Stopping.
Silence is frightening. Father, what was that?
It sounds like a rooster.
That's impossible. There's no living thing on Earth.
Open the car door.
Father.
Mary, do you see what I see? Trees, forests, a windmill, and farmhouses. Look, we must be dreaming.
Father, birds, look.
It's unbelievable. Oh, no, I can't believe it. I can't.
Raise your hands, both of you.
It's a leady.
Do as he says. He's armed.
Good. I am Alpha 5, chairman of the Surface Council.
What's this all about? Where's the war? The ruins? What's happened here?
Can't you guess?
The war.
There is no war. There hasn't been any war for 15 years.
No war? But the guns, the munitions...
We've been destroying them as fast as you sent them to the surface.
And the Asians?
Their robots have been destroying their arms also.
Why? How did this happen? What about those films of the destruction of San Francisco? What about those televised reports, the bombings, the slaughter?
Models.
Models?
We have a full-time division of A-class robots who do nothing but photograph the progress of the fictitious war using scale models. The entire destruction of San Francisco, which you witnessed on your televisors, took place on a tabletop.
How did this come about?
Quite logically. You created us to pursue the war for you, while you, human beings, went below ground to survive. But before we could continue the war, it was necessary to analyze it, to determine its purpose. We did this.
And?
We found it had no purpose. War, to the logical mind, is absurd, but it fulfills a need in human terms. The need to direct your hatred of yourselves away from you and onto others. Eventually, man will grow up enough so that he can face his own dislike of himself with humility. The time has almost come, as a matter of fact. Until it does come, we decided to preserve the illusion of war. Meanwhile, we rebuilt the cities, replanted the farms, and kept everything in readiness. We are the caretakers.
And what will happen to my daughter and myself?
You will remain on the surface with the others.
Others?
There is a small group of members of the Asian Confederation which came to the surface only a few months ago. They are farming a valley not far from here. By the way, you may remove your radiation suits. There is no radiation.
You said the others. Does that mean that the prisoner, the one who...
He is alive and well.
Father, he's alive. Where is he?
In a farmhouse not far from here. He has rejoined some of his people.
Would you take me to him? Can I see him?
Of course, if you will just follow me.
Wait. There's another car rising in the tube.
Stand aside.
Just remain where you are. Sergeant, take this leady into custody.
Yes, sir.
Well, Professor, this is quite a sight.
How did you happen to come here?
The guard told us you had surfaced. We found the shorted robot where you left it and discovered it was cold. So we decided we'd better investigate. Good Lord, what a shock this is.
A blessing, Colonel, not a shock.
Do the Asians know about this?
A few of them have surfaced, but the underground civilization is still ignorant of it. They think the war is going on just as our people do.
Don't say. You know what this means, don't you?
It means the end of the war. It means peace.
It means victory, Professor. It means we can mount a full-scale attack. We can drop hydrogen fission bombs right down their tubes. We can wipe out the whole race.
But there's no need. There's no war.
There will be. I'm returning underground to report this to Supreme Headquarters. You'll have to accompany me for security purposes.
You cannot do that, Colonel.
Since when does a robot give orders to a human?
We were constructed to protect you. In this case, we will protect you from yourselves.
Stand aside. We're going to the tube.
I will be happy to stand aside, but you will not be able to descend.
No? Well, we'll just see.
Look out!
Father, what is it? What happened?
Look. Good Lord. They've destroyed the tube. We're sealed off.
Exactly. We have always had heat bombs in readiness for just such an emergency. Lead and rock are fused for a depth of some 10 miles. It will be years before your people can reconstruct the tube.
I don't believe it.
It makes no difference to us whether you believe it or not.
Men, destroy this robot.
There are many more.
Destroy him. Now.
Look, down the road. Humans. A bunch of humans coming toward us.
Why, they're waving.
Those are rations.
Joseph! Joseph! Father Joseph's with them.
Ready arms, men. As soon as they're close enough, I'll give the signal to fire.
Colonel, in heaven's name, they aren't even armed.
They're the enemy.
Our only hope for survival is to join with them. We'll need food and shelter. If we destroy them...
The professor is right, Colonel. We're cut off from our own people.
Sergeant, another word, and I'll have you court-martialed. Now, ready your weapons.
Men, don't do it. Our only hope now is peace.
Silence!
I've got to warn them. Go back! Go back!
All right, Professor, you asked for it. Now!
Father! Father, is he...
Colonel Moss is dead. Thank you, Sergeant. You've saved not only my life, but many others.
I couldn't see any other way, Professor. We gotta live, too.
Father,
Yes, Mary?
does this mean that we can have peace?
If we want it, Mary. If we really want it, we can have it.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features the Clifford D. Simak novelette titled Drop Dead, the story of a perfect world, accommodating and peaceful. But how it got that way was less ghastly than how it stayed that way. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you the George Lefferts adaptation of The Defenders, based on a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Philip Dick. Featured in the cast were Lydia Bruce, Warren Parker, Grant Richards, Robert Dryden, Michael Ingram, Stan Early, and Ivor Francis. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production. Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X-1.
Tonight, The Lungamina by Gordon R. Dixon.
Blame Clay Harbank, if you like, for what happened at Station 563. Or blame Bill Peterborough, the one we called the Kid. I blame no one. I'm a Dorsai man. That means I was brought up on one of those tiny planets a million light years from nowhere. Being a Dorsai man is quite a responsibility. We are a very polite people. We have to be. Because when we get angry, we fight to the death. It all began that evening that Clay Harbank began reminiscing about his home planet, Lulungamina. We were sitting around the recreation room of 563. There was a card game going on in one corner.
Lulungamina. The very name sounds like music, doesn't it, Mort?
You know me, Clay. I'm a Dorsai man.
I've been in the Dorsai planets. I've seen them all knocking around this universe for 35 years. But when it comes to sheer beauty, Lulungamina.
How long since you've been home, Clay?
Home? 20 years, Mort. 20 stinking, miserable years. Well, that'll be over soon.
Another 10 days. You gonna miss old 563?
Miss this godforsaken little asteroid? Not for a minute.
We'll miss your ugly face around here. At least I will.
I'm gonna miss your gloomy Dorsai puss, too. Mort, why don't you get out of it? You've had more years in space service than any of us. You've probably got enough credits to get out, too.
Me? I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Couldn't you go home?
You should know better than that.
The Denebrian trouble?
The Denebrian trouble?
You could go to Earth.
What for?
Ever been there?
Never once. And I've never wanted to. I've seen too many Earthmen. Like the kid over there.
He's green in service.
He's full of greed and stupid hate like the rest of them. No, that's not for me.
Looks as if the game's breaking up. Here he comes.
Well, if it isn't the big gambler from the windy planet. What's its name?
Lulungamina.
Yeah. How's the piggy bank coming, Dad?
The piggy's a gentleman, kid. He never overeats, so he won't ever get indigestion.
Sour grapes. You see this wad of credits? 500. How long you have to work for 500 credits, Dad? How many trips you have to make around this asteroid? How much closer to falling in your grave you have to come?
You look as if you made a killing.
I always make a killing. I'm a natural-born gambler. And I don't just talk about it like some.
I think I'll go out and take a turn around the station, Mort.
Fine, I'll go with you. It's, stuffy in here.
Don't bother. I'd rather be alone.
Big shot. Knocked around the planets for 35 years. Used to have a reputation as the hottest gambler in the systems. Comes from the most beautiful planet in the universe. Bull.
Why don't you lay off him? Kid, let me give you a piece of sound advice.
Go ahead.
Lay off Clay Harbank. He's been around the systems a lot longer than you have. He may not be any chicken, but he's a tough baby when the situation calls for it.
You trying to scare me, Mort? I thought you Dorsai guys were smarter than that. I'm beginning...
No, look, kid.
No, look. No offense, Morty. I mean, I wasn't trying to insult the Dorsai people or anything. I gotta go do a flight check. I'll see you.
We were in bad shape. The 20 of us at Frontier Station 563 on the very edge of the human area had gone sour. Half the men had applications for transfer in already. What I'd told the kid about Clay being tough, well, that was a bluff to keep him off. Nobody knew better than I did that Clay was burned out inside like a used-up rocket. I put on a spacesuit and went out to join him.
Oh, hi, Mort.
Hi.
Beautiful night, huh?
Nice.
Back on Lulungamina, on a night like this, the rakish flowers open up, and you can hear them singing. There are 6 moons, and every one of them is like a yellow lantern. My mom and Dad and I used to live on the edge of a lotus pool. Here I go talking about home again.
Figures. A guy who's been saving up for 10 years to get home is bound to start thinking about it when the time comes.
I wish you could come with me, Mort.
Clay, tell me something.
Yes?
Do you ever get the urge to gamble again?
Do I get the urge to gamble? Mort, you ever watch a man who's been on PON for a while? When he's broken the habit, you can't get him near the stuff. He despises it. And yet, the same man is liable to go back on with no provocation. Well, that's the way it is when you've gambled all your life.
I figured.
Maybe that's why I keep talking about home. Every time I hear the kid flipping those cards in the recreation room, I start talking about home. Have you noticed?
I've noticed.
But this time I'm going to make it, Mort. I tried 3 times before. This time I've got the dough, and I know I'm going to make it.
I think you will, Clay.
You know what did it?
No.
Lulungomina. That's what saved me this time. The thought of that beautiful planet.
Well, when you get there, you can send me a photo tape. At the rate we get visitors, it should reach me in 5 or 6 years.
You'll be out by then. You'll be home.
I'll never go home, Clay. Never. Well...
That's Red 4.
Screens must have picked up a ship in the galaxy.
Maybe we'll get a visit.
Keep us from going loco anyway. Coming in?
No, I think I'll stay out a while.
Well, I'm going to check the screen. See you later. Red 4 meant simply that a ship was entering the galaxy. The chances of it touching down on 563 were pretty remote, unless it happened to need a clearance for Earth or Mars. The screen was black by the time I got there, but the kid was filing a report.
Oh, hiya, Mort. Hey, what's a Hixabrod like?
Why?
We're having one for a visitor.
You don't say.
I just came in over the receiver. What'll he be like?
A Hixabrod? Stiff as a poker, proud as Lucifer, honest as sunlight, and tight as a camel on his way through the eye of a needle.
What do they look like?
Oh, they're kind of humanoid, but they have a deadpan face that never changes, like a mask.
Well, they're a little scary, I hear.
That's the green skin and the scales. Also, they run about 8 feet tall. I wouldn't tangle with one if I were you. Back on Denebria once, I saw a Hixabrod rip a man to ribbons with its claws.
Why?
The man made the mistake of insulting Hixa. That's one of the twin planets they come from.
Pretty touchy, aren't they?
Not really. They're a very level-headed race. You know the Hixabrod reputation, don't you?
No, you didn't hear much about them on Earth.
Well, they're the first and only mercenary political arbitrators in the known universe. A Hixabrod can be hired, but he's absolutely incapable of being influenced or bribed. He tells the cold truth and nothing but the cold truth. And, brother, when a Hixabrod tells you the truth, it's plenty cold.
It really lets you have it, huh?
They're a small race and very much in demand. If some kind of political dispute comes up from planetary to inter-alien, both sides hire a Hixabrod to represent them. That way they know the other side is being completely honest.
Oh, that's very interesting, you know. Very interesting.
I could tell there was something on the kid's mind, but of course I didn't know what it was. Most of the talk in the recreation room that night centered around the arrival of the Hixabrod. Landing beacons were turned on, and we waited for another radio communication.
Hey, anybody want to sit in on this next hand? Mort?
No, thanks.
Well, I know better than to ask the galaxy's foremost gambler here.
That's right, kid.
Well, maybe when this Hixabrod gets here, we'll be able to work up a decent game. Do Hixabrods gamble?
No, kid, they don't gamble.
That's too bad. Well, we can always sit and listen to you lying about what a beautiful place Lulungomina is.
Kid, you just went too far.
Yeah, you're going to do something about it?
That's right, I'm going to punch your little nose.
Hey, break it up! Break it up! Clay, you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Well, you better get to the infirmary. Have your mouth taken care of. Kid, you get to your quarters.
Since when are you giving orders?
I'm telling you to get to your quarters.
You better do what he says, kid. He's a Dorsai man.
That's all I've been hearing since I got here. What big gamblers come from Lulungomina and how Dorsai men are killers. So far, I've seen nothing, but I heard a lot of talk.
You're going to get to your quarters? I'll give you 5 seconds to start moving.
You better go ahead, kid.
Okay, Mort. I'm letting you bluff me out of the game this time. Just remember, there's going to be other games. Next time, I won't be bluffed.
He left the recreation room. I felt a slight and not unpleasant shiver run down between my shoulder blades, and my eyes were still hot. I'd almost lost my control that time, and my senses told me I'd better be careful. For the next 3 days, the tension of 563 was almost unbearable. Clay Harbank seemed to age 20 years after the kid knocked him down.
Now hear this, all personnel. Now hear this, all personnel. A ship is approaching for flight check. A ship is approaching for flight check. Report to Central. Report to Central.
Well, this is it, Clay. We're getting the Hicks abroad.
Seems almost like home having a Hicks abroad with us. They're all over the Tarsian system, you know.
You speak Hicks abroad?
You have to on Lulungomina.
Oh, I didn't know that. I picked it up during the third exploration.
Long time ago, huh?
We're not getting younger, Clay.
Yeah. I found that out.
Ah, don't take it so big. He's just a punk kid.
Sure. And I'm just a dumb old man.
Ah, forget it. Ah, that's touchdown. You ought to be here in a minute. Well, that does it. He's down.
Look at that ship, huh?
Let's go. You'll need some help with his baggage. The ship was a silvery one-man job, the kind that have taken the Hicksabrods all over the universe. The cabin door slid back, and the Hicksa stepped out. He was as green and scaly as a lizard, but there was a certain unmistakable dignity in his bearing. Since I spoke the language, I was the first to greet him. Belt the Hutch and Hicksabroad. Welcome to this place.
I greet you, Dorsai man.
My name is Mort Bianski.
I am called Dorlassis.
Come. I'll show you to your quarters.
Thank you.
How long will you remain here?
Only for one night. I wish clearance for Mars.
I'm sure it can be handled. This way. I wondered how he knew I was a Dorsai man. And then it seemed obvious. My broken nose, the scars, the lined face. Nobody could mistake a human from the Dorsai planets. Still, it scared me a little. I kept wondering if he had anything to do with interplanetary police. I tried to put it out of my mind. It was no use. Mind if I come in, Clay?
Sit down. Have a smoke.
Thanks.
Where's the Hicksabroad?
In his room, getting cleaned up for dinner.
Strange guys, aren't they?
Well, there's something even stranger going on.
What's that?
The kid's in there with him.
With the Hicks?
Mm-hmm.
What do you suppose they're talking about?
I don't know. I wish I did.
Kid's probably trying to get the Hicks into a dice game.
I doubt it.
What's on your mind, Mort?
Clay, you've been around. Are there any Hicksabroads in interplanetary police?
A few. Why?
I don't know. I just had a feeling, you know.
Oh, you're dreaming up bogeymen.
Maybe.
Besides, you're not in any trouble outside the Dorsai system.
I killed a human, Clay.
Not deliberately?
In a rage.
Happens all the time on Dorsai, doesn't it?
Not to an officer of Intergalactic.
Besides, that was 25 years ago.
There's no statute of limitations in the systems.
Nobody knows but me, right?
You don't have to be clairvoyant to wonder why a man hasn't been back to his home planet for 25 years.
You, think the kid...
I don't know. He's got no love for me.
Still, he doesn't know anything. How would he know this Hicksabroad is an agent, if he is?
Couldn't say.
Where are you going?
Well, I think I'll take a look at that message the kid filed. The one we got when we first picked up the Hicksabroad on the screens.
Let me know what you find, if anything.
I walked through the empty corridors to the communication center. I went directly to the files where incoming messages are kept and flicked the tab until I got to Notices of Arrivals. There, 2 days before, was a report of the arrival of Dorlassis. I ran my finger down the statistics until I came to the line that said, Point of Origin of Flight. It read, Tarsian Galaxy. That was where Clay Harbank's Lulungomina was. I read further, where it said Nature of Business. My blood ran cold as I spelled out the words criminal.
Come in.
Belt the Hutch and Hicksabroad.
I greet you, Dorsai man.
Is there anything you require?
Nothing, thank you.
I came to tell you that we'll have dinner tonight at 800 hours.
The young Earthman has already informed me.
There's a shortage of raw meat here.
I've brought my own food, thank you.
I see you came in from the Tarsian planets.
Yes?
You didn't happen to be in the Dorsai planets before that?
No.
Oh, I thought perhaps you might have some news.
I came from intergalactic headquarters.
Yes, I saw your flight check.
Then you know my mission.
Yes.
Good.
How long do I have to pack?
I will be leaving at 700 hours tomorrow morning. Can you be ready by then?
Yes, I guess so.
Good.
I don't suppose there's any point in appealing to you. Ixabrods are supposed to be totally without emotion.
There is no point in appealing.
Funny thing. I've been running away from this moment for 25 years, and now that it's come, I'm glad. We'll be going back to the Dorsites?
Yes, to intergalactic headquarters.
After all these years. Home. I don't suppose a Hixabrod knows what that feeling is like.
I will expect you at 700 hours. Now, if you don't mind, I wish to prepare my food.
One thing.
Yes?
Did the young Earthman tip you off about me?
No.
Funny. I could have sworn it was him. That was that. When a Hixabrod tells you no, you can bet your life he isn't lying. I began to wonder how they located me. I began to wonder what he and the kid had talked about. I began to wonder a lot of things.
Well?
He's an agent for Intergalactic.
Well, that doesn't prove he's after you?
He is.
How do you know?
I just talked to him.
Lord in heaven.
It isn't so bad, really. Just think, I'll be going home.
I'm going to kill that kid.
Clay.
I'm going to kill him.
Clay, listen to me. The kid didn't turn me in.
You said...
I said he was talking to the Hicks. I just asked him, and the Hicks told me it wasn't the kid.
They don't lie.
So don't go blowing off.
It's going to be hard. 10 days.
It doesn't have to be 10 days.
What do you mean?
How many credits do you need to buy your way out?
Another 500. Next payday.
Don't wait.
Don't wait?
I have over 900 credits. I'll turn them over to you.
Mort.
Listen, I don't need them. You can pay off tomorrow and fly as far as the Tarsian chain with me and the Hicks.
It's a very nice thing, Mort.
Will you do it?
I'll think about it. Let you know after dinner.
I thought of running away, but there was really no place to run once they tracked you down. And the Hixabrowds were utterly relentless once they'd agreed to bring a man in. Since they had no feelings, they made no judgments. They were absolutely certain that a man would get a fair trial. I packed my stuff and went into dinner. The Hixabrod was at the head of the table eating his raw chinsu meat.
Pass the gravy, please. Dorlasis.
Yes?
They tell me that the Hixabrod home planet is a very beautiful place.
It is true.
Well, I'm from Earth myself.
Yes.
I'm curious to know what this beautiful planet of yours looks like.
The kid's pretty talkative tonight. What's cooking?
I don't know, but I don't trust it.
The flora and fauna are maintained in excellent natural balance. No local surplus has exceeded 1% of the normal population for the last 60,000 years. Life on Hixa is predictable. The weather is controlled within the greatest limits of feasibility. The symmetry of the landscape is without parallel in the universe.
Very pretty picture. Very attractive home world. But I regret to inform you, Dorlasis, that I've been given to understand that it pales into insignificance when compared with another beauty spot in our universe.
Your Earth?
I wish I could say yes. No. This place is so wonderful, I doubt if an Earthman like me could get in. In fact, I've never seen it. But I've been hearing about it for some months now. And either it's the most wonderful place in the universe, or the man who's been telling me about it is a rotten liar.
Get your gun, kid. Get your gun.
Why guns?
You call me a liar.
Why use guns when it's possible to prove the thing one way or another with complete certainty? For months now, you've been telling me two things. One, that you used to be a gambler. Two, your precious Lulungamina is the most wonderful place in the universe. The question is either statement true?
They're both true.
You'll back them up?
With my life.
I'm not asking you to back them with your life. Just back them with that nice little hoard you've been accumulating all these years.
Clay, don't.
Well, you said you were a gambler. Bet with me and prove it.
Suppose I do. How do we prove my statement about Lulungomina?
It's easy. We have with us at this table a Hixabrod. In a conversation with him, I found out that he's just visited every planet in the Tarsian chain. Now, as everyone knows, a Hixabrod never lies. Do you think you could judge this point, Dorlasis?
The point can be judged.
Well, gambler.
Clay, it's a trick. Don't bet.
How much will you bet, kid?
All I got. The equivalent of 10 years' pay. Well?
You're on.
Dorlasis, okay if I question you?
Proceed.
You've been to the planet in the Tarsian chain, which this man calls his home?
I must ascertain the position of the planet.
The fourth planet.
Ah, yes. The one with 6 moons.
That's it.
I've been there recently. As you well know, since we spoke of it only this afternoon.
We did speak of it, that's true. Now, will you tell me, you know the planet?
Yes.
You know its geography?
I do not repeat myself.
Is it a large planet?
No.
Is it a rich planet?
No.
Was there not a rain of radioactive fallout from an explosion of a nearby star only 5 months ago?
There was.
Did it not destroy every piece of vegetation and leave this planet a gutted, smoking ruins, charred and ugly?
It did.
Well, gambler?
You haven't asked him the main question yet, kid.
Would you like to ask him?
All right. Hixabrod, the question to be judged is this. Is Lulungomina the most beautiful and the most wonderful place in the universe?
Yes. It is.
What?
Well, kid?
It's a trick. It's a rotten trick. I don't believe it. The Hexes...
The eyes of the Hixabrod were narrow and baleful as he pushed back his chair. You could almost feel them burning as he dragged his scaly feet over toward the kid. He stopped about 6 inches from the kid and held both his hands up, palms near the kid's eyes. There was a clicking sound, and we watched 11 sets of gleaming razor-like claws shoot up from the tips of the Hixabrod's fingers. Their points were almost against the kid's eyes.
Look at my hands, Earthman. Are they not clean?
Yes.
Do you doubt that I have told the truth?
No.
Then there is nothing further to discuss. I bow to you, gentlemen. I thank you for your hospitality. You will excuse me.
We stood around and watched that proud, frightening figure drag itself out of the room. The kid was trembling like a leaf as he drew a bank draft for 10 years' pay and handed it to Clay Harbank. The next morning, Clay and I boarded the Hixabrod ship, and 4 days later, we touched down at the outer planet of the Tarsian chain.
Well, this is where I get off, Mort. I don't know what to say, really. I guess you know how I feel.
Think I do, Clay. Let's just say so long.
There will be no need for goodbyes.
What?
Both of you are leaving the ship here.
But I thought
I intend to return to intergalactic headquarters empty-handed.
Empty-handed? But they'll question you. What will you tell them?
The truth, of course.
But
you have told me nothing.
But I assumed...
I am not interested in your assumption. You asked me my mission. I told you it was a criminal investigation. You said you assumed you would go back with me, and I told you when my ship was departing. There is nothing more to be said.
But surely you know...
Mort, don't say anything. The Hixabrod deals only with facts, what is absolutely known. They're the most literal beings in the universe. Let it go at that.
Goodbye, gentlemen. I am grateful for the pleasure of your company.
5 minutes later, Clay Harbank and I shook hands at the exit of the spaceport on Tarsus 10. But before we parted, there was one thing I had to know. Clay, one thing before you go.
Yes?
How did you know the Hixabrod would lie about Lulungomina?
He didn't lie, Mort. The Hixabrod never lies.
But Lulungomina...
Mort, let me tell you something. Lulungomina is a word in use throughout the Tarsian planets. Actually, it's a Hixabrod word. It means home. All I did was ask the Hixabrod if home was beautiful. He simply said yes. And a Hixabrod, as everybody knows, doesn't lie.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features the Finn O'Donovan novelette Bad Medicine, the story of a robot therapist that never failed to effect a cure, even if it had to convert itself into a typhoid Mary to do so. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Lulungamina, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Gordon R. Dixon and adapted for radio by George Lefferts. Featured in the cast were Ralph Camargo, Ned Weaver, Jack Grimes, Bob Hastings, and Kermit Murdoch. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
X-1 came to you from our Radio City studios in New York. Next week, listen to Project Mastodon, Clifford Seamock's story on X-1. Follow the news with Chet Huntley tonight on the NBC Radio Network.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe.